Testing, testing, there we go. Okay, let's call this regularly scheduled meeting of the Inland Valley Development Agency to order on Wednesday, October 12th, 2022. Clerk of the board, should we dispense with the roll call now or just adjourn to closed session first? Does it matter?
We can do one now and one after closed session if you'd like.
Okay, let's do it. I just want to make sure we have a quorum.
All right. Oh, yes, we definitely do. Please state your names for the record. Members from the City of Colton.
Frank Navarro.
Isaac Suchel.
Thank you. Member from the City of Loma Linda.
Phil Duper.
Dusty Rigsby.
Thank you. Member from the County of San Bernardino, 3rd District.
Don Raff.
Thank you. And members from the City of San Bernardino.
Ben Reynoso.
Thank you very much. And for the record, Member Baca has also joined the meeting, and we have a full quorum.
Okay, and we're going to adjourn to closed session.
Is everything good?
Good, yeah. Any questions?
And then Supervisor Rao, go ahead and stay on, and I'll let you into the breakout room momentarily.
You want to- Closed session. I couldn't hear you. I'm sorry. I'm going to defer to the attorney.
Was just inquiring, was there anybody who wished to make a comment regarding the item on closed session?
Looking for somebody to run forward. And seeing none, we'll go ahead and dispense with that. Back in open session. Mr. Lewin, is there anything to report out?
There is not, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much. We're going to proceed with the regular session now, and we'll do the Pledge of Allegiance. Supervisor Baca, would you mind leading us?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. Mr. Burrows, are the items to be added or deleted?
No items, sir, other than in the info sections. Unfortunately, Ms. Pritchett had a family emergency, so we will probably defer her comments on those two if that pleases the board.
And I just wanted to go ahead and announce that Member Charette is with us in the audience.
And also that Mike is here with us on site. So he's just in a different room for, yes, we're just observing COVID protocols. That's all I'll say about that. But to make sure he is here.
Better safe than sorry. So
yes.
Thank you.
Okay. We'll deal with conflicts as they arise, and we'll move on to informational items. Item number 2.
So I will start in here, and I can't see in the room, unfortunately, but if we've got Miss Beltran there, I'd like her to give you all an update on the 3rd and 5th Street project. And if she's not handy, then
Oh, she's
here.
She's here.
Okay, all right, Ms. Miriam, tell us about 3rd and 5th.
Absolutely. Thank you and good afternoon, everyone. So the 3rd and 5th Street Corridor Improvement Project is a collaboration among the Seminole Band of Mission Indians, the City of Highland, and the Inland Valley Development Agency. And back in July, we informed you the City of Highland is the lead agency leading the design and construction phase of this project. And they had selected the lowest bid for this project from Granite Construction. But because the bid proposal, there wasn't enough funding available to cover the cost overrun, we had to go back to EDA and pledge additional funds and also request a time extension in order to complete the project. So last month we received approval from EDA to move forward, and the City of Highland has issued a notice to proceed to Granite Construction, and they expect to start construction on November 21st. This project does allow for 400 working days, and we anticipate the project to be completed in May of 2024. Thank you.
And then Now over to Mr. Cousineau. As you know, October is ROPS months for everybody. And Mr. Cousineau, not a whole lot of update there, but if he could advise how we did with the ROPS.
Right, thank you, Mike. Good afternoon, everyone. Report on our recognized obligation payment schedule. First off, we made one of our annual debt service payments on September 1 for a total of about $8.3 million. In January, we have our countywide oversight board meeting scheduled where we will be presenting and requesting the following items to be funded from the Redevelopment Property Tax Trust Fund, and that would be our debt service as well as our estimated administrative costs. And then finally, just a quick update on the ATC's or Auditor Controller's property tax estimates for the upcoming year. We're looking at a gross of coming in roughly about $58.1 million for the IVDA successor agency. After distributions, amount available for enforceable obligations will be $33.7 million. About half of that will be dedicated to our debt service, and the remaining $23.4 million is eligible for distribution to other agencies. That particular amount is continuing to show, all of it is continuing to show a year-over-year tax increment increase of roughly about 6%. So that concludes my report.
Okay, and then we're going to go back to Miriam. The September month is where we have to update our SEDS document for federal EDA. Miriam, how are you doing?
I'm doing great, thanks. So yes, the IVDA, in order to be eligible to receive federal award funds from the U.S. EDA, we need to prepare what is called a comprehensive economic development strategy. And this report contains background of our region's economic development setting, which also helps paint a realistic picture to EDA of our needs. And this year, our consultant, the Nielsen Group, worked with each of our JPA members and obtained an update from them for inclusion in this year's SEDS update. So we completed the update last month, and this has been submitted to EDA for their concurrence, and we're just awaiting approval. That concludes my report.
Thanks, Miriam. And then on policies and procedures, I'll just touch on that, and then we'll defer the logo discussion until Kat's back next month here with us. But on policies and procedures, staff is proposing that we bring those back to you in the January month. Historically, October has been a target for us. But in more recent years, many new state laws particularly come into effect in January. So it's actually more instructive and productive that we bring those to you in batch in January. And we're prepared to do that. No, earth-shattering need to make adjustments at this point, thankfully. And that concludes our reports.
Nothing on the logo development?
No, I want to defer that till Kat's here. That was her project, and in fairness, I wanted to give her the microphone on that one. But unfortunately, she cannot be with us today.
Okay. And Mayor Valdivia, you had a question.
Thank you. Two follow-up questions, one to Mr. Cousineau, one to Miriam. Mr. Cousineau, you suggest the property values are now 6% on the upswing and the uptick. And then you suggested that in your report there's about a $24 million pot share that essentially dividend repays to members of the JPA. Are those accurate numbers?
Those are numbers from the ATC report. That $24 million would include school districts and everyone else who shares in the distribution of those funds.
So not only the members listed on the members here seated at the dais, but now school districts?
As well. All property tax funded agencies would share that 24.
Okay, very good. And so are there discussions on the redistribution of it? Do we have any authority, or is that just some out of our purview?
That is all out of our purview.
Very good. My follow-up question to Miriam, Ms. Beltran, you suggest then that the economic development plan was somehow member agents were contacted. What particular departments within the cities would that have occurred?
It was the Economic Development Departments and also Planning.
And did they do conduct a site visit, or was this more just a telephonic or survey of some sort that staff handled in their respective cities or jurisdictions?
I believe the consultations with the consultant were conducted via Zoom.
Very good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? Seeing none, we'll move on to the board consent items.
Move it.
I have a
Second.
first and a second. It was Dr. Rigsby was the first, and I think Mayor Navarro was the second, I believe.
Thank you. Thank you very much. If you can please state your names for the record, or your votes for the record, excuse me. Member Navarro.
Yes.
Member Suchil.
Aye.
Member Duper.
Yes.
Member Rigsby.
Yes.
Member Baca Jr.
Baca, aye with an abstention on 14.
Thank you very much. Member Valdivia.
Yes.
Member Reynoso.
Yes.
And Member Sanchez. Yes. Thank you very much. The items pass.
Thank you. Moving on to our board action items, beginning with number 15. Is that Ms. Beltran presenting on this also?
Yeah, this is Miriam and Tom Dodson's group.
Thank you. Good afternoon. I'd like to introduce Caitlin Dotson for the update.
Good afternoon, board members. I'm going to be providing you an update on the AGSP. Do we have the presentation?
One moment.
All right. So as you guys know, we've been Tom Dodson Associates, me and Tom Dodson have been working on the Airport Gateway Specific Plan Environmental Impact Report. If you want to go to the next slide, just refreshing your guys' memories. You've probably seen this map 400 times by now, but this is the area that's being considered under the Airport Gateway Specific Plan. Can we move on to the next slide? You all have heard these purposes before: economic development, creating a transition between the airport and residential land uses, and enhancing water, sewer, and stormwater infrastructure. Next slide, please. You guys have all seen these figures before. The land uses that are being considered in the AGSP specific plan area includes about 468 acres of mixed-use business park. And that also includes right-of-way and floodway, and an additional about 210 acres. Next slide. We've all seen this one as well before. I just want to make sure you guys all have a refresher on what we're talking about. Next slide. So I'm basically here today to update you on where we're at. We're still in the process of drafting the environmental impact report. As you all know, we drafted most of the chapters last year, and we're in the process of updating them, working with the City of Highland, working with the City of San Bernardino to make sure that the documents all meet their needs. It's looking like we're going to try to get this document published by the end of this month or early November. So we're kind of nearing the end, and importantly, needing some input from both of the cities to kind of finalize and wrap things up. Next slide, please. All right, so where are we at? Tom and I have been looking through all of the chapters. We've sent roughly all the way through traffic in the environmental impact report to all of the parties involved, which includes, Mike and Miriam, staff at Highland and staff at San Bernardino. We've mostly received comments from the City of Highland so far, and I believe because of staffing changes, we're still kind of getting the City of San Bernardino up to speed, hoping that they will provide us with comments. And perhaps they'll end up providing us with comments once we finalize the entire draft and put it out for their review before we publish. We only have a few more chapters to go, which is why we're kind of towards the end of getting ready to do the publication through IVDA to get this out and get it on the eyes of the public. And in that vein, you all may have been aware that we're going to have communications group to kind of do some community outreach so that the community that would be affected or involved in this project is made aware of what's going on. That's kind of going to happen essentially once the draft is published. There's going to be several different areas of community outreach. As you all know, the scoping meeting was held for the project, I think in July. We received a lot of input from the public, and we're kind of this week actually, I know that this slide is actually a little bit inaccurate because this week Tom and I finalized the chapter 2, which does respond to the public's questions. We kind of took the initiative at Mike's direction and Miriam's direction to make sure that we address those comments and provide our recommendations to the cities for their review and input. So instead of asking them to respond to us, we're kind of responding to them with what we think is going to be best and asking them to provide input on that. And then finally, I actually already mentioned the last issue is bringing the City of San Bernardino staff up to speed since Oliver left. So that's kind of been a bit challenging, but I think that we'll get some input again once we publish a draft. Next slide. So next steps, Tom and I are going to be working on finalizing everything as soon as we possibly can, hopefully by the end of this month for publication. Hoping to get review and input from both the cities and from Mike and Miriam in that time period, which is, there's only a couple weeks left of the month. So that should be forthcoming. We'll be finalizing each subsection and then proceeding with the community outreach and eventually getting it published and sent to OPR for official publication. And those are the sort of near-term next steps. Beyond that, going back to the slide that said when you guys will eventually be seeing this in front of your board, it's probably going to be towards the end of the year, early next year. That's our anticipation. Do you guys have any questions? Anybody?
Yeah, just on the public outreach,
Yeah.
what does it consist of? Are you having town halls throughout the area?
It's still being decided. I believe we're going to be holding some workshops, at least
okay.
one, if not two. And then I believe we're also going to be sending like flyers and notifications to, I think, a quarter-mile radius of the area just to make sure that we're informing the public.
Sure.
So there's several steps. I don't think that Mike and Miriam have completely approved the entire process just yet, but those are sort of the general ideas that are going right now.
Yeah, and if I could just touch on that, Caitlin, some of the comments we got through the scoping process kind of led us towards those communications opportunities. So they were great suggestions from the public on how to help get the word out and engage. So at least a couple of community meetings out in the project area was a recommendation that we received, which I think there's a multiple venues in that corridor to allow for that. So that is the plan, but obviously we've got to get the environmental doc in a level to be released.
Yep. Anything else?
Thank you.
Okay. Great to see you all today.
Thank you very, very much. Okay, moving on to item number 16.
So I'm going to take a stab at this one, Miriam, and if I mess anything up, just fix what I missed. So we've got a quick PowerPoint for you on a few other programs that are in the works this year, and wait for that to get queued up here. Obviously, you just heard about a big one here with the specific plan. If you could go to the next slide there, Jen. So we've already touched on that. I'd like to go to the next one if I could. All right, so Miriam just advised y'all on the status of this project, and obviously you've heard a lot about it. It's taken some time to get this ready to build, and that is just a reminder, we'll create a brand new connection on 5th Street back to 3rd. So from a circulation mobility standpoint, that we think, and certainly City of Highland does, really creates more opportunity, more access, more mobility, and quicker response from our public safety folks. Next slide, if you could. Sterling Avenue. Miriam has done an initial kickoff with our engineer that you all approved at your prior meeting to do the final design of this new access, new intersection, and new traffic signal. And that just occurred a little over a week ago, and they are hitting the ground running as we speak. So hope to advance this quickly because this is an important corridor, not just in the specific plan area, but where some infrastructure certainly is lacking and needed improvement. So IVDA has been very supportive, great team up in the sale office, up in Marion, and the project team move this forward. Next slide, if you could.
And Mike, just so you know, and for those of you in the audience, you're fading in and out with us here, so.
Okay, I'll try to talk closer to my laptop here.
I think there might be a problem with your microphone or something on
I
that
think,
side.
I think, Bill, I think we discovered that Mike was Charlie Brown's mother.
It's quite possible.
Womp, womp, womp.
Yeah.
Well, that wouldn't be the first step, no. All right, so it might be my Wi-Fi connection, Phil. I don't know if that's any better.
It's a little clearer, maybe.
Okay. Well, I'll just touch on one more slide, and then we can wrap up with Q&A. So San Manuel on the east end here is proceeding, working on wrapping up the landing project, and we anticipate them announcing their tenant shortly, but that is moving pretty quickly. There's a few off-site improvements that we're collaborating on, particularly on Victoria Avenue, and that's underway. Hopefully have permits issued to them for that within this month. And then next slide, Jen, if you could. Hillwood is continuing to do plan reviews on what's called the North Gate project that's just west of us here in Del Rosa. And they're actively talking with City San Bernardino staff on that. And then next slide. This is DFAS 2, and so the contractor for the new county fire headquarters, those crews are mobilized. They're having to segment some utilities, which IVDA has to make sure that our building to the north is adequately served. All that coordination is doing really well. And then next slide, please. So just as informational material here, some of you heard this before, but believe it or not, IVDA is the recipient since 1996 a foreign trade zone designation. This is through the Port of Long Beach, and we're getting more and more interest from the shipping public to hopefully activate more operations in this space. And for import-export companies, this is a very lucrative tool, but not many people know about it. Next slide. And then the UAS Center continues to do consultative training, working on wrapping up the consulting project with the County of San Bernardino. And as you heard at your last meeting, the Sonoma County Schools student training was very, very successful, and we've got 14 students now that are drone pilots. So that's exciting news as well. And happy to answer any other questions you might have.
Any questions from the board?
Or down at Charlie Brown.
Yes, Mayor Valdivia.
Mr. Chair, I know confidentiality, but the importance of the landing. Well, we don't want to mention any. How close are we on a tenant? You don't have to name the name, but how close are we, and are we on schedule for that?
Yeah, I talked to San Manuel last week on that, Mayor, and there is talk hopefully within the next few weeks. So they're getting very, very close as well.
Thank you.
But it'll be their news, and you guys will hear it loud and clear.
Okay. For the sake of our ears, no offense, Mike, we're going to move on to item 17. It might just be my age. I don't know about the rest of you, but I can't. I'm having a hard time.
Well, I will keep this very brief. Finance and Budget Committee, thank you for your time earlier today. You've heard about the specific plan and some of the economic development initiatives going into next month. We will be doing updates on legislation and grant opportunities, so we'll have a report on that. And if I'm still squeaking and, jumping in and out, I will conclude with that.
Okay, thank you. Any comments or questions on that item from the board? Seeing none, we're going to move on to the open session public comment. Any members of the public wishing to speak, please come forward. Seeing none, any board member comments? Nobody throwing their hands up? And I'm sorry. Yes.
Okay, great.
Councilmember Sutral, yes.
Well, as you see, we have a lot of things happening with our airport here, and I think it's very important that we all know that the San Bernardino Airport is a very important part of the Inland Empire region. That being said, I respectfully ask my San Bernardino City colleagues that you please meet with your city manager and find out how we can get the medians and all the entrances areas to the airport kept up and make respectfully. Because believe it or not, the passengers come and they drive through your city and they see the parts of the city. Our staff in the airport is doing their part. All we're asking is San Bernardino City do their part for the medians. It's not the airport's responsibility to maintain the medians, but if you guys can just have a meeting with your manager and find out if there's a plan, how can we make sure that that area is maintained properly and aesthetically appealing, because that's what they're going to see first before they get to the airport. And I hope that you do meet with your planning, everybody that's involved with your medians, but it's very important. So that being said, that's all I have.
Okay, thank you. And I want to thank Councilmember Sutral. He and I met as the Budget and Finance Committee earlier, and Mark has given us where we're at for the first quarter here of the year, and we're doing fairly well, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so with that, we'll be adjourned. Thank you very much.
Thank you.